What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Planet Coaster and the 1.7 update. Now in the last video I've just uploaded, we had a look at the free features which were made available to everybody that owns the base game. So go and check that out if you want to see what's involved with that. But today we're going to be having a look at the paid DLC content, in particular the rides that have been made available for us. So just to clarify once more, these rides are only available for those of you that purchase the DLC. And there's a numerous amount of flat rides which we're going to take a look at, and then 2 brand new roller coasters. So 3 new roller coasters in total, but one of those is available for everybody as part of the free update. The 2 we're looking at today are for the paid DLC content only. Now as far as all the other content that's part of the DLC is concerned, we're going to look at that in a future video, in particular all the scenery items, and there's some pretty good stuff actually. Today we are just focusing on the 7 new rides. Again, 8 in total, but 7 for the DLC. So starting with the flat rides, of which there are 5, we have the Centrum. We'll go ahead and put this into test mode. I've gone ahead and built all these in the park, so I haven't prettied it all up or anything like that. This is just a showcase of the new rides themselves. And these are classic fairground style rides, which is something we'd expect. This is the vintage DLC pack after all, so it kind of makes sense that we're getting these classic looking rides to go with it. And let's set this to night time. Traditionally for me the fairground is all about the night. That's when I used to go with my family and stuff when I was younger. And there's also, I should mention, it's not strictly to do with the rides, but hey, it's kind of something you would use on the rides. A new set of music soundtrack as well. There's 9 music tracks available as part of the vintage DLC, and they're right down the bottom of the list here, so you can go ahead and try those out. I won't play them all now. Barbershop Quartet's an interesting one. It's not really made for rides, but you can use it on the rides. It's actually a scenery item that makes use of this. And then your standard carousel vintage organ as well. So pretty cool to have those. Again, I'm not going to play them all right now, but the option's there if you want to use it. And of course you can ride all of these brand new rides as you would expect. And I have actually been on one of these before. I think it was called the Cage when I rode it at a fairground. And the interesting thing about this particular ride is there's no actual harness to hold you in. There's kind of like a couple of bars around that you can hold on to, but that's about it. And it's literally the centripetal or centripetal force, whichever one it is, that keeps you in your seat or against the rest or whatever it is you want to call it. So we'll bring it back to daytime now. We can see what we're doing, and we'll go ahead and open that one. And if we just move over here to our next ride, I've actually ridden this as well in real life, and this is possibly the roughest flat ride I have ever been on. Now it might not look like that from the game here, and even when you ride it in first person, I assure you guys, and I'm sure many of you know this, there's a world of difference between riding a ride or a roller coaster in Planet Coaster than there is in real life. You don't get the intensity, you don't get the pain in many cases when a ride's not being well maintained. There's just so much of a difference in experience. But hey, you know, they're not miracle workers, the developers, so I'm very grateful we do get to experience these rides from all different camera angles. So as you can see, this is a Ferris wheel type ride. It's called Round the World in Planet Coaster, and the actual gondolas that are on the side here are I think they're like free flowing. Maybe they're mechanical, but I think it's just the gravity and the forces that are working upon them that spin them round. And the Ferris wheel goes round as you'd expect. Now, I'm not sure why this was like the roughest flat ride I've been on. I think it's just because it jerks you all over the place. It was a few years ago that I rode one of these when I did ride it, so I don't remember it all that well, but I do remember that one ride was enough for me. I didn't rush to go back on it again. And you get this kind of cage around the guests as well. And rides that go upside down but only have a lap restraint are always more interesting for me, I find. Just because you have, even though they're obviously perfectly safe, they feel a lot more unsafe, if that makes sense, because you don't feel as enclosed or as claustrophobic as you do with the over-the-shoulder restraints. So that's Round the World. We'll go ahead and open that one. Okay, the third ride that's available, oh, spoilers there, The third ride that's available is this ride. So I actually remember this from Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 actually. I think it was called the Twist in that game or something similar. In Planet Coaster it's called the Hurricane. I should point out as well, of course, that all of these rides can be customised with various colours as well, and ride sequences. Okay, so you have your full options there, as you'd expect by this point in the Planet Coaster development cycle. So here we have Twist. It doesn't lift up or have angles to it or anything like that. It literally just spins around, but you do get a lot of lateral forces working on the riders, which makes it quite exciting for them. So this is one of those rides that when you're actually riding it, it feels a lot faster than it would look to those that are just watching you ride it, if that makes sense. And we'll go ahead and open this one, Hurricane. Okay, fourth then, we have the Looper, is it? Loop-de-Loop. And this is your general looping flat ride. It's not going to be able to host a whole lot of guests at any one time, so you might want to just watch your queue lines for this. And also, if you're in a busy area of the park, adjust some of your ride sequences as well. So this is your standard loop-de-loop, and you can even set it to stall at the top if you want to hold the rider suspended in mid-air, if you want to be cruel to them, that is. And it's another traditional vintage ride that's set in a cage as well. I mean, I'm not sure what the cage is for exactly. If your lap bar comes off, you're probably going to die anyway, aren't you, rocking around in this thing. But there we have it. Okay, so that's the Loop-de-Loop. We'll go ahead and open that one. And then next up and finally for the flat rides, perhaps the most interesting is this one. It's called Test Flight. And I believe this is supposed to be guest controlled, at least in real life. I believe it is, you know, human controlled or rider controlled. The person that's riding it gets to determine when the plane that they're riding actually spins. So there's multiple sequences available for this one as well, including loop, fast loop and fast loop high, so you can actually extend the height of these arms throughout the ride if you wish to do so. And the riders technically get to choose as well when the actual plane they're in goes around upside down or whatever the case may be. So they shouldn't all be uniform, and they're not, as you can see here. You can even technically hold them upside down, I believe, if you want to do so. Now, you can't, as a player, actually control one of these like you can with the go-karts, for example. At least not that I can, in a way that I can see. But, interestingly, they turn upside down even when it's just the armless dummies that are controlling them. And just a warning, if you're going to ride this one in the game, it might induce nausea in some people, because it spins just all over the place. So you'd have to have a bit of a strong stomach, wouldn't you, in real life to handle this. I've not been on one myself. So, there it is. That's Test Flight, and the fifth and final of the brand new flat rides available in the Vintage Pack DLC. Moving on to the roller coasters, then I'm not going to be showing you the Wild Mouse, which is new with this update, because this is one of the roller coaster, I should say, that's available to all players regardless of DLC purchase, and we have taken a good look at this in the last video I made, so we'll leave a link to that if you want to check this roller coaster out. It's pretty amazing, actually. Possibly my favourite of the new 3 roller coasters, so pretty awesome to get that one for free. And over here we have another wooden roller coaster, and this one is called the Zephyr or something. Let me just have a look for you guys here. If we go to custom, the roller coasters I've actually built are the blueprints that are available for everybody as well. This is it, the Zephyrus. And what makes this one unique is it's a normal wooden roller coaster, so you can change it with the cars from the other wooden roller coasters. But the trains themselves have 4 rows per car, so you can have actually up to 8 riders per every single car on the track, which is pretty interesting. Apart from that, though, it's your pretty, you know, it's your standard wooden roller coaster. Nothing really to say about this other than the fact that the trains are different in that sense. So we'll just watch this for a moment, and then we'll move on to the second of the 2 DLC roller coasters, which actually is substantially different than anything we've got in the game so far. So we'll just speed up. In general, though, I do really love the wooden roller coasters in Planet Coaster. They are so well implemented. Not only because they just look amazing, and they do look incredible, especially with the wear and tear on the tracks and the supports and everything, but just the sound effects as well. In fact, the sound effects throughout Planet Coaster as a whole are just absolutely spot on. They sound just like you would expect these rides to sound were you to, you know, be near them in real life. There we have it then, the new wooden roller coaster, and the blueprint is called Surf Avenue. Right, so the next new roller coaster then, the second of the two that are available as part of the DLC, is a bobsled style roller coaster. And I've actually had a chance to ride one of these roller coaster types in real life at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I'm not sure how many others there are situated around the world. I'm guessing there's, you know, a couple more as well, so maybe you guys have had a chance to ride them as well that haven't been to the UK. But it was actually a great experience, great ride experience, it really was. Very different to, obviously, the other roller coasters that you will ride in your life. Yes, you're not going to have any steep drops or anything like that, but the actual sensation of riding around without a typical metal track and just leaving the bobsleigh track and mixing that with gravity and physics, and that's because the roller coaster is just going to bend up the curves and the gradients of the corners and stuff because of the physics acting on it. It's just a great experience, and it is like nothing that you're going to experience on another kind of roller coaster. So it's great to see that the bobsled has been made available to us in the game here. And another roller coaster type actually that was present, I believe, in the original Roller Coaster Tycoon, but seeing it now in its, you know, glorious full 3D graphics that we have here in the Planet Coaster engine, it's just taking it to another level really, isn't it? So let's go ahead and ride this bad boy before we finish off the episode today. And I think we'll take the front seat, the best view. We'll queue up an extra hour or so, or not, as the case may be. As the builders of the park, we get the privilege of not having to queue at all, of course. And the roller coaster that I went on that was a bobsled variant at Blackpool was a lot smaller than this particular build here. So I'm not sure if the one I went on is a typical example or not of a real life bobsled roller coaster, or if it was a smaller version. But the actual design of it, as in the track type, was just identical to what you're seeing here. And it's really rickety as well when you're riding it in real life, in a way that's really hard to explain. But, you know, you're sitting down quite low to the track in single file, and your bum is quite low to the track, and on your bum you can just feel the vibration of everything that you're going over, every crack, and just the whole track is just shaking through you. I mean, maybe that's just because the one in Blackpool is old and needs work doing to it, I don't know. But I kind of get the feeling it's part and parcel of the actual design itself. And this is a pretty cool design actually that Frontier have given us, as in blueprint rather. So if you want to get experience in this straight away, you won't have to build it, you can just plonk it straight down. I love the way, again, with the sound effects, that the ricketiness of it is really coming through in how it sounds, isn't it? It's like there's just vibrations all over the place as it's coming down the track. Very, very impressive indeed. And we get to see some of the vintage scenery as part of the station there as well. Oh, I love this, I really do. Yeah, I actually think this is one of my... I don't know if I've thought about it enough to say my favourite, but one of my favourite DLC packs. Mostly because of the nostalgia value. You know, it just reminds me so much of my childhood and going to the fairground and stuff. And just riding rides that had that vintage feel and design to them. But, you know, I haven't really done that for a while. So maybe that's what it's invoking, is that nostalgic appeal. And maybe that's what it's supposed to do. So please, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section of the new rides available with the vintage DLC here for Planet Coaster. And in the next video, we're going to take a look at some of the other new features as well. In particular, the new scenery. There's quite a lot of it, and some pretty exciting stuff with that as well. So in case you're thinking of purchasing this, I believe it's about £8, £7.99 on the Steam store for the UK. I'm guessing whatever the equivalent of that would be in your own currencies as well. But if you do go ahead and purchase, then please let us know what you think in the comment section of this video. If you've enjoyed watching, please do support me by leaving a like and being subscribed to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time. Take care all. Goodbye.